it does. It's an extra burden, extra cost. And as I've said before, when you're trying to get corporations to move into Montvale, and there's many reasons why you would want to move into Montvale, by telling a CEO or a CFO that, oh, well, gee, we sell cannabis in Montvale, I don't think that's too attractive. So I don't think that's a measure. Also, in terms of for cannabis, there's been a discussion about alcohol. Well, you can do breathalyzer tests. With cannabis, how can a police officer determine if someone's smoking cannabis in a, they have to be a whole investigation on the legal aspects of drugs and those things. Also, what about the DARE program? You'd have to spend a lot more money to educate teachers and students into the terrible effects of the drugs, because the marijuana, the composition of the marijuana has changed significantly. It is much stronger. And also, as far as the tax benefits of it, it's a cash business, and for every $10,000 made, you'd only have a benefit of $200. And that, to me, is not a great investment. And again, I commend the borough. I hope that you will stand your ground and not allow cannabis to enter this community. If people want to do it, perhaps in other communities, they will sell it there, and that's the stigma, or maybe they think that's a wonderful thing to do. But I applaud the council and hopefully you will hold your ground on this. Thank you.
Thank you. For those on Zoom, we will take the folks that are in person first, and then we'll go to the Zoom attendees. Anyone else here in person wishes to speak?
Schumacher, Highland Road. Reading through this, I just need some clarification. Is CBD banned under this ordinance? No. Is hemp products banned just because they prohibit? So I'm going to ask that the council who's voting for this in about 5 or 10 minutes respond. I just would like to hear some clarification from people who are, actually voting on this.
Respond to what?
To my questions. We're giving you the answer. I understand, but you're not really voting on this, and you don't really. You're not elected about what the ordinance says. Yes. But I'm not really sure if everyone who's voting on this actually is aware of the questions that I'm asking. It's really important.
We'll give you the answer. He's our counselor, yes. And we would go by what he just said. So you have your.
If you guys don't know the answers to the questions that I'm asking now, you're going to vote on something that you don't know the answers that you aren't really sure of.
But do you have the answer?
Do I have the answer? I'm asking you. You guys should know.
Did you just get the answer from Joe?
Yeah.
Okay. What's your next question?
Is medical dispensaries being zoned in this ordinance?
Joe? No. All 6 classes are not.
Is medical dispensaries currently zoned?
All 6 classes are not.
Are medical dispensaries allowed in town?
No.
Okay. There's just a lot of verbiage about traffic and concerns about traffic. Was there any study done about the increase of traffic due to a farm or a distribution center?
No.
Okay. So is there concerns of traffic if a farm or distribution center were to be added to town?
It's a concern, but we did not do the study.
Okay. So, okay.
Yeah. The traffic is always a concern. Always a concern.
Yeah, I mean, you're allowing deliveries in the town, so
yeah.
I'm just trying to understand the traffic for shops is a concern. Traffic for deliveries is permissible. Traffic for distribution and for farms isn't allowed, but there's no clarity on the increase for any of those 4.
We didn't do a study. We did not do a study.
Okay.
Yep.
Is there any general plan in this ordinance to revisit this once state planning has been done? The state has released all their information.
So we have the option that we can go back and revisit this when we have more clarity on these rules. Like right now, it's so vague.
Yeah, I didn't ask if there's the option to do it. I'm asking in this ordinance or through any discussions, is there a set plan of once rules are final?
No.
general things I've mentioned, actually, is selling vape pens now banned under the wording that says that anything that is related to facilitation of smoking marijuana is banned under this.
According to this ordinance, yes.
So vape pens are now banned in town after this.
According to this ordinance, if they use it for marijuana use. Joe, correct me, is that correct?
I mean, they can't buy safe liquid related to.
No. Can they buy a bong under this ordinance? Can bongs be sold in town?
That's already banned marijuana.
Okay, but the ordinance has wording under it that anything that would facilitate the smoking of marijuana.
Yeah, you gotta infer with that within reason. You can.
I'm asking for interpretation. So no, it's not, or yes, it is.
We're not making that. What if?
This isn't a what if. You're passing something in 10 minutes. Is the gas station going to be all of a sudden in violation of this ordinance because you're selling vape pens? That's what I'm asking.
Judge, someone can buy the bong and says it's a decoration. It's not for smoking, so they can buy it.
A decoration.
The wording, the way I read it, doesn't read that way with relationship to vape pens. If it's not included in the ordinance, then okay. It's why I'm asking for clarification.
The purpose is to prohibit items that are primarily used for marijuana. We're not going to go around and say, oh, well, this could be used, this generic item could be used, but this generic item could be used. It's not the purpose of the ordinance. And you know this.
But I'm asking for clarification.
No one is going to run around and say, you could potentially use this item for smoking marijuana, therefore I'm going to take it out of your store.
I don't know how
that could apply to 28,000.
Yeah, we're not talking about apples and honey bears here. It's a vape.
But you are. Okay.
But I'm not. I'm talking about vape pen. Like literally, there was a whole hullabaloo about people vaping with marijuana and how it was a problem. So this isn't like outside the realm of possibility.
Nothing right now is changing in this ordinance concerning how we apply the prohibition on marijuana. It's the same as it was in the code right now. So nothing has changed.
Okay. So vape pens are not banned, correct?
If they haven't been, if that's been applied to vape pens previously, nothing in this ordinance changes.
Okay. Thank you.
We need to wrap up, Jared.
Cool. All right. Just generally speaking, there's tons of revenue. Look at any other state. Education is super important regardless of whether we banned it or not. So DARE programs and people should be properly educated on drugs. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening to all of you too. Beautiful, beautiful day. Carol Lee Adams, Montvale. I want you to, whatever, I support this ordinance. I think it's very reasonable and very wise. And as you move forward, I recommend that you certainly pass this, but read this book, get a copy of called Smokescreen, What the Marijuana Industry Doesn't Want You to Know by Kevin A. Sabat. I believe that's how you pronounce his last name.
God, I'm going to
PhD.
throw up.
He worked as a government advisor, began in the Clinton administration as a researcher, and he was the senior speechwriter on drug policy in the Bush administration. In 2009, he was asked back to assist in drafting President Obama's national drug control strategy as a senior advisor, and he remains the only drug official appointed by presidents of both major political parties. Since leaving the White House, he has advised Pope Francis, United Nations bodies, and decision makers at all levels, and is an assistant adjunct professor at Yale University. As one commentary says on the back, from General Barry McCaffrey, who's retired MSNBC analyst and former Clinton drug policy director. I've often said the fight against drug addiction begins at home. Kevin Sabat's new book, Smokescreens, is the most important resource about the dangers of marijuana, impeccably researched and gripping in its scope. It's a must read for every American. And I hope our library gets a copy of it. And then just recently, the wonderful state of Colorado, the Rocky Mountain High state, which smells unfortunately a lot, has now bills proposing new marijuana restrictions because of the things that they've learned in their in their bill. And they go on to say the lawmakers say Colorado has led the nation in the legalization of pot, and it now has a responsibility to lead the regulation of it, especially when it comes to those 18 to 20 years old. Supporters of the bill say many young people have no medical conditions but get medical marijuana cards to use pot and sell it to the younger friends. Pot concentrates are especially popular among young people. And by the way, I'm quoting here from a report by CBS Denver. Pot concentrates are especially popular among young people and can have 80 to 90% THC. Some doctors say the high potency pot is leading to addiction, psychosis, and even suicide. And it goes further to that. So that, once again, I know that the 3 leading officers of the peace of the state, was it the State Police Chiefs Association, perhaps the PBA, when they spoke at the marijuana hearing, they had been to Colorado and they saw what they testified as being devastation. And now it's being more and more uncovered as they learn to see what's happening. So I applaud all of you for bringing forth a policy that will somehow or another try to curb this smoke screen. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here in person who wishes to speak on this ordinance? Good evening.
Mark Benzie, Montvale, New Jersey. We were here prior to the meeting. As discussed last time, cannabis, marijuana is in Montvale. It's in Montvale. Any business that is selling staples, selling cannabis, if done properly, if done ethically, if done educationally, is a good source of revenue. It is not anything can be done format, if you will, or format. But you've got the right business people running a business. There is no reason to pass the revenue that is potential for this time. It is coming here. It's just a question of when, whether it's delivered here or sold here. It's quite frankly irrelevant. The users today, they are not the teenagers in the Dust Bowl. They are professionals, they are doctors, they are lawyers. To pass this up in our estimations, it's quite frankly, it's to pass on revenue, to pass on jobs. No CEO is not going to come. That's just not remotely. Most forward-thinking CEOs probably in today's day and age support. So, in our estimation, what we are looking for and a sound, solid business that's safe, secure.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me take, wait, hold on, because you went once already. Let me make sure that we'll take the Zoom and then we'll come back again. Is anyone else here in person wishes to speak on this before we go to Zoom attendees? Okay. First on Zoom, we have Hugh Guadano, UFC, UFCW. Good evening.
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. My name is Hugh Giordano, and I'm a union representative for the United Food and Commercial Workers Union, UFCW, Local 152. The UFCW is a national labor union which represents cannabis workers from seed to sale, both adult use and medical. And we are affiliated with the AFL-CIO and have official jurisdiction under that industry. We are also working directly with the New Jersey building trades, both the adult use, both for the adult use and medical programs for the build out and retrofit. So all the jobs within cannabis for these, whether it's a dispensary, a cultivation site, a warehouse, a manufacturing facility, will be done using IBEW, Steam Fitters Union, Carpenters Union. So these are union jobs from shovel to sale. So to say that no revenue is made is a fallacy. Revenue is made because it goes right into the working class citizens' pockets. and it creates a local economy because when working people make money, they spend it. Also, on top of that, in the seed to sale process, we currently represent facilities here in New Jersey. I would like to offer everybody a tour of the Garden State Dispensary so that you can see it for yourself. As a representative, I've traveled the country. I don't just hear things about Colorado. I've been to Colorado. We represent workers in Colorado, Washington State, Oregon, California, all around the country. So when you hear these things about the smell and all that stuff, it's mitigated. Technology is new. It's not 20 years ago. In fact, when you go to if you come to the Garden State Dispensary, you can see it for yourself. Just had a bunch of police officers go through there and mayors, and even they were impressed that you couldn't smell it on a 98-degree hot day outside. So on top of that, I want to say the type of jobs that are there. These folks have degrees in horticulture, chemistry, botany, and other sciences. So not just the retail side, but also the growing side. It all has expertise. A lot of these workers in New Jersey come from Rutgers and Stockton. So these are young, educated people. They're going to move into a community and follow the good paying job. And that will stimulate the local economy. On top of that, these facilities are severely secure. They have direct access to the state police 24/7, 7 days a week. So that's the reality of it. One of the things you can do is we would ask that you not ban this industry and instead look at the city of Bayonne's ordinance, which has a merit-based application system. So you can get the best and brightest, which means that you can look at labor standards, you can look at educational standards, environmental standards, security standards, community standards. If the city of Bayonne did it, every other township, city, and borough can do it too. And it's a very conservative ordinance, but at least it gives you control, so you don't have to opt out and just ban the whole industry. Again, my name is Hugh Giordano from the UFCW, and we would ask that you drop this ordinance and then consider the Bayonne ordinance instead. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Lefty Grimes, sativacross.org. State your name, please.
Good evening, Council. My name is Edward Lefty Grimes. I'm with sativacross.org. We're a 501c3 advocating for disabled rights and for cannabis patients' rights. I have a question. Did you guys also ban synthetic marijuana that's sold at the pharmacies under the name of Marinol and Dronabinol that cancer patients use?
This only speaks to the 6 classic businesses that are in the.
Okay, so this only speaks to God's medicine. This is specifically for the medicine that God gave us, not the man-made cannabinoids. So you're banning and stigmatizing God's medicine. I just want to be clear about that. You didn't go through all these meetings when you had these pharmacies come in with all their drugs and stuff. You didn't worry about the people driving on opiates. Kevin Sabet, that's Reefer Madness from the 50s right there. He's been debunked so many times. He won't even come to Jersey right now because he knows we're waiting for him to debunk him again. He's embarrassed himself more than he has give himself any credit.
What's your question, sir?
The question is, have you ever spent a day in a wheelchair? Do you know what it's like for disabled war vets to not get their medicine? You're disrupting the supply chain of medicine to disabled war vets and sick kids, people that are suffering and dying. That's a wartime move. Who are you at war with? And why are you at war with these people? Why are you stigmatizing the sick and the dying? You know that when the Taliban catches people, our troops, under the Geneva Convention, they have to give them medicine. You're not even following the Geneva Convention. I know it's a far-fetched thing. We don't have to do it. It's an international treaty. But you're not even following the Geneva Convention. And the Taliban treats our vets better than your town right now because at least they have to give them medicine. You're taking medicine away from the sick and the dying. Shame on you. How would you like it if you were in the wheelchair and someone took your medicine away and made it harder for you to get your medicine? I know a lot of vets that can't get their medicine. My one vet friend, he lives on the islands, and he has an hour ride to get to his dispensary. He just found out he has cancer on top of everything he suffered with the PTSD, with the bad back, with the Lyme's disease, with all the other problems. Now he has cancer. And now he has to go jump through hoops because all the towns that he is down where he lives has banned cannabis. for our disabled war vets. They're suffering because of your stigma. Shame. Shame on you. You have police that are out there speaking on this, and you're only hearing one side of the story from cops. I talk to a lot of cops, and they're not allowed to speak on it because it's federally illegal. So all the cops that agree with us can't speak. We only hear from the cops that want to put us in jail. That's who we hear from. We don't hear from the cops that believe in freedom, that take their oath seriously, their oath to the Constitution. Our Constitution says we're allowed to grow cannabis and use cannabis. The cops that I like take their oath seriously and protect those rights and those oaths. I wish you would protect the oath that you took to the Constitution, because almost 70% of your constituents voted for recreational adult use cannabis just to get stoned. And I'm talking about medical cannabis. You're taking away medicine from people that need it. How would you like it if someone took your medicine away, took away your diabetes medicine, your insulin, your heart medicine, and made it harder for you to get it? First of all, we need your help, not your hindrance. Our medicine's being taxed by the state. It's being taxed 2% by these towns. It's not covered by insurance. It's moldy. We're getting these billion-dollar corporations coming in here.
Sir, yeah, 1 more minute.
Building an industry on the backs of the sick and the dying. We want mom and pop cannabis. We want to build up the working class, not these upper class billionaires, to make them richer, and to forget about the sick and the suffering people out there. We need more wheelchair access. We need more cannabis access. People are suffering and we're hurting. We need help. And what are you doing there? You're taking away our medicine. I mean,
appreciate your service, sir. Anything else?
No, I'm not a vet, but I support vets, and I support people that are suffering and dying. So, no, I'm not a vet.
Good. Got it. Okay, sir. Thank you. Next, we have Steve Fisher. Good evening, Steve.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Council. I'll just be brief on this. I know because these comments from the public are on the meeting, the public record. Just to be clear that the state overwhelmingly passed the legalization of marijuana. Our town of Montvale overwhelmingly passed the legalization of marijuana. So knowing that this ordinance is in place and will be voted on shortly and it's not going to be sold, I would ask or implore the town council to at least formalize the process by which they will review and revisit this issue. I understand there are plenty of unknowns, but I think I and other people in town who would like to see it sold and would like this issue to be revisited would feel a lot better if there was a formalized process in place to say, you know what, there's a lot of unknowns right now. In 180 days, we're going to check back in with our list of questions, see if we got answers from the state. And then after 180 days, maybe a period on top of that. Just knowing there's a lot of unknowns and the idea that some more research has to be done is a totally valid point. But until that stuff is documented and sort of promised and written in stone that it's going to happen, my fear it's going to fall by the wayside. So that's all I have to say. Thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you. Next, we have Marina. Good evening, Marina.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, my name is Marina Redmond. I'm at 3 Borough Square, Parlin, New Jersey. I am also with Sativa Cross. I want to tell you my journey on medical marijuana, and I'm just asking for medical marijuana and how much it's helped me. Between the ages of 1 and 4.5, I was born with a birth defect on my lower left leg. I had to have a bunch of surgeries. I was in a major New York City hospital. Your parents weren't allowed to stay over. Just imagine being a 1, 2, 3, or 4-year-old kid, seeing your parents walk away from you. Just imagine being that parent, wishing you can spend the night over to see your child, just to spend time with them, but you couldn't. And what was even worse was that when I would have surgery on my leg, they pushed me in there without anybody. I mean, yes, I had the nurses and stuff who were very nice, but you want your mom like they do now these days. And then this is what happened with my PTSD. It got so bad with doctors. Then unfortunately, in 2017, I was diagnosed with cancer. I could not get my medical marijuana card. It took me over a month before I was able to start smoking my medication. They gave me all different types of medications to keep me from vomiting and getting sick. Within 3 weeks, because I was having heavy duty chemo, I lost 50 pounds within 3 weeks. Just imagine losing 50 pounds within 3 weeks. How weak that must have made me. As soon as I got my medical cannabis card, I started smoking. I felt so much better. I was able to walk, live, walk around. And before treatments, my doctor would say, go smoke out in the parking lot. And if you can't, take the IV drip and go smoke out in the parking lot. I have such bad PTSD with doctors that a lot of them will say, before I examine you, please go smoke. How many doctors tell you to smoke medical cannabis? It's just such a beautiful thing. And it's the people who say, well, you can take Link, you can, some people, I'm disabled. Not all of us can afford cars. Uber and Lyft are a lot of money. And we don't have that because we are on permanent disability or disability from cancer treatments. Access Link is also a joke. It's horrible. And a lot of these also Uber, Lyft people, they may not want to go to a dispensary for whatever reasons. You also have 64 psychiatrists in the state of New Jersey that prescribe medical cannabis. You have 10 pediatric doctors that prescribe medical cannabis. How cool is that? How cool that these doctors are trying to help their patients grow and live. And it just makes me so sad that a lot of these towns don't even want to consider medical cannabis. It's such a game changer for people. If you want to ask me any questions, feel free, but just please be open to medical cannabis. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I don't see anyone else on Zoom. We'll go back to the audience. I know there was one hand up. The audience, you want to say something?
Mayor and Council, I've heard that,
Just the name again, please.
George Boothby, Montvale. I'm just curious. I hear that, this revenue was going to be generated. And as I said, on $10,000, the revenue that's generated is $200. And I don't think anybody in this audience or the council wants to penalize any veterans. Every Memorial Day, we have our service and we try to honor our veterans. I am sure that if there are prescriptions given by doctors, we also have Sloan Kettering here as a hospital. And I'm sure when a prescription is given for medical marijuana, either through the hospital or the doctors, that those veterans and those people in need can get the medical marijuana. For leisure marijuana, that's another story. And I've talked with doctors, and I'm sure there could be multiple opinions.
Leisure
and
marijuana.
They're saying the strength of the marijuana is increasing. And what message do we want to send to our children? Now, other towns may have it. It's all legalized and everything else. So maybe Park Ridge will have it, or Woodcliff Lake will have it. So it's fairly accessible. But just the question is, do we really want that in our town? Now, we've heard people say that CEOs and other people smoke marijuana, and that's all on good. It's a personal matter. It's a private matter. But to be able to put that stamp on that Montvale, New Jersey will have cannabis sales and lines a mile long down the street, to me is absolutely absurd. When, yes, you can get it. You can get it for whatever price, whether it's in Patterson. I think Paramus is now moving on this possibly. So it's accessible. We don't need it in our town, and I don't know what the cost would be to have very good education for our children. And they say that sometimes the impact of the marijuana may not hit adults until maybe they're in their mid-30s or late 30s. It's like tetracycline. Tetracycline was the wonder drug, and then they found out 20 years ago it started staining and debilitating your teeth. Well, this still requires a lot of investigation, and again, I'm adamantly opposed to the sale of cannabis in our town. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? We need to close this very quickly. Go ahead, Carly. We need to move on, so if you can make your comments quick, please.
Sure. Someone may dismiss Mr. Sabat, say he hasn't been in New Jersey. He hasn't been in New Jersey because his co-founder of his organization, Smart Approaches to Marijuana, is Patrick Kennedy, who knows the downsides of addiction. In the back of this book, there are several hundred notes that you can look further rather than just the very short quotes that I mentioned before. And I just encourage, I wish I'll donate it to the library if you will encourage them to accept it. But they talk about a study from NYU Langone. I mean, these are medical studies. These are not off-the-cuff studies. And understandably, I do know someone that took medical marijuana because she had esophageal cancer. She had no problem getting it. But this is a very different situation that we have today in this town. And again, I applaud you for what you did. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anyone else? Seeing none? None on Zoom, motion to close to the public? So move. Second? Second. Motion to adopt on second and final reading and name the newspaper to be advertised in? So move.
The next individual to unmute themselves. Last four digits 9690. You can unmute yourself.
Yeah. Please state your name and address, please.
You're breaking up. We can't understand you, so I don't know if you're on a device or
better
something
now?
else. Hello?
Better now?
It's a little bit better.
Hello?
It's still breaking up.
Hold on 1 second. Is it better? Hello? Hello?
Better now, yes. Yes.
Okay. I would just like to add on to this that I would like to applaud Mayor's office and the council
Your
office
name and address, please?
for
State your name and address.
Pratik Patel, 29 Redbud Road.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would just like to applaud the position taken by council and the mayor to ban this thing. I think all said and done, as far as Piscataway community is concerned, I think we pride in ourselves in high tech and digital and many other advancements. And I understand the rules in and around cannabis that promotes jobs, but we don't want that kind of jobs in our township. Where it happens and if it does something good, be all good. But at the same time, I want to be mindful as I attended one of this video conference in the past, where the rights of some of those folks whose livelihood depended on it, I think we are just kind of leaving them hanging dry. So what I would like to propose is when restriction ordinances are passed and some minority rights are disenfranchised, I would like the township or whoever in the council to meet those folks personally and offer them choices so that way they can live a decent life and a path or a career that they would like to enjoy. And after that, if they deny that, that's a different story. But oftentimes when change happens, usually on the receiving side, I don't want folks in our town to kind of left hang and dry because of some decisions that were made. Thank you.
Council President, I'm asking the next individual to unmute themselves. Last four digits are 6692. Thank you.
Hi, this is Jonathan Powers, 361 Stelton Road. I'm a almost 15-year resident, and I believe that the council is making a mistake by prohibiting the operation of all cannabis businesses. Our state Democratic leadership is in favor, as well as the majority of our fellow state residents. Sorry, I'm trying to read I wrote a couple notes down and I'm mixing them up. But our town leadership has done whatever it could to get warehouses, more and more warehouses into our town. Speaking of good jobs and tax revenue, but here's an opportunity to get an industry, starting industry, the ground up, to make the rules, to make them good jobs. I don't see the difference between a dispensary and a liquor store. There's not people drinking outside of our liquor stores. There's not going to be people using cannabis outside of a dispensary. More than likely, they're going to come into Piscataway and leave. When you have a population of a majority of the people who recreationally smoke already, we're already a good family town, which is what everyone is saying. what is the difference if they come to our town and buy it? These dispensaries, I don't believe, are going to be in our residential areas. They can be in strip malls. I know this firsthand because I'm a union representative of the workers who work in Woodbridge. And I believe they would be quite upset if they heard the way that you're speaking of them, that you don't want them in our neighborhood. So I'm asking the council to change their minds and shut this down for now, maybe get more public opinion, because if 70% of the state is in favor, I believe a majority of our town would be also. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Powell.
Council President, I'm asking the next individual to unmute themselves. Last four digits are 0962. Thank you.
Hello, Brian Rack, 1247 Brookside Road. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Hi, I'd just like to read, I don't know if any of you got a chance to read the NJ.com article where they interviewed a lawyer for another town. I'm just going to quote his, this was Sean Mack. Just going to read his quote. The thought process on how the repeal is going to work is flawed, he said. The towns think we ban everything now, then we change our minds later, so now we want to allow things. You have to repeal your opt-out ban. Now you're back in a situation where your town does not have a duly adopted law by August 21st to ban certain cannabis businesses. Do you guys have any response to that? Because his interpretation of that law makes sense to me. If you ban this now, when you revoke the ban, you're not going to have a law, so you're going to be back in the situation where everything's allowed. So to me, that means you're probably never going to remove the ban.
Well, Raj, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I'll take it. This is Raj Kumar, the attorney. Mr. Rack, from that quote, it seems to indicate that the attorney is talking about people changing their mind before the August deadline and repealing the ban and not having. I'm not sure how that makes sense, even if the council did want to change their mind in regard to this ordinance, which, you know, they didn't take this decision lightly. But you know, if they did, it would be as simple as they could do a simultaneous ordinance to pass a regulatory ordinance to fill that void. So that attorney is kind of, you know, I would disagree with that attorney in regard to his process. You know, you can do special meetings, etc. There's ways to do it. That being said, you know, the regulations and rules are not going to be announced by the state, as discussed at our previous meeting, until after the townships have decided to have the option to opt out or opt in, and they will not be able to opt out after that deadline. So the township's going to, you know, wait and see, and you know, they may have the ability, depending on the rules and regulations, after that deadline to opt in. And I leave that to the council and the administration to make that determination.
Okay, I'd encourage the members of the council to read the NewJersey.com article. The title is New Jersey Cities, Towns Are Acting Quickly to Ban Weed Businesses by the August Deadline.
Yeah, Council President. Council President, this is Councilman Khan. Can I just comment briefly?
Okay.
I understand Brian's comments and the comment of the first speaker about jobs, and you know, I understand his enthusiasm, but to say that you know, passing this ordinance demonstrates a lack of respect for union jobs is a pretty bold statement. It really isn't supported by what we're doing here. I said this at the last meeting when this was brought up. I voted in favor of changing the law and legalizing the sale of marijuana. I think it was the right decision for the state. What's disappointing is the state has not provided appropriate regulations. I mean, the first speaker indicated it's a well-regulated industry. Well, we don't really know that because we don't know what the rules and regulations are. And once we opt in without knowing what the parameters are, I think that would be rather irresponsible of us. It's disappointing that the state hasn't given us proper guidance as to what we would be opting into. But as a lawyer myself, I don't know how I could vote for or advise the municipality to opt into a plan without understanding what the regulatory scheme is going to be. It would be like saying we're going to vote to allow the sale of alcohol, but have no idea how it would be regulated and where it would be regulated and whether or not we'd have local control. I as a lawyer, I understand that there will be an opportunity down the road after there are regulations, especially in light of the fact that so many different townships, cities, and municipalities across the state have reacted in the same way we have. There'll be other opportunities after these regulations are in place for Piscataway and other towns to take a look at this and say, okay, now we understand how it works. Now we understand what local control we have or don't have, and we can make a different decision. But, opting in without knowing what the rules are Brian, frankly, is irresponsible of us. I mean, what do we do if we opt in and the regulations are in other words, what if we opt in and we're not allowed to control the location or the zoning or where these sites would be? And we can't opt out. And we just can't, we can't abide by it that way.
Ridiculous.
When
Oh,
the
let's put a
state
farm in the
clarifies what
residential.
rules are,
Let's put a farm in the
we'll take
residential
another
area.
look at
Duh.
it. Nobody, I can't speak for the rest of my colleagues, but I suspect the majority of them supported the legislation at the state level. We're just disappointed that the state hasn't given us guidance or the town's guidance at this point. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Mr. Khan. Thank you, Raj. Thank you, Mr. Brand.
Council President, I'm going to ask the next individual with their hand raised to unmute themselves.
Yes.
You're just delineated as an R. If you could unmute yourself. Thank you.
Yes, hi, my name is Marina Redmond. I live at 3 Burrell Square, Harlan, New Jersey. Oh, you just took off my face. I guess you don't want to see me.
We don't have video on our calls. It's only telephonic.
Okay, because Governor Murphy said we could be seen, and I am a disabled cancer patient, and I thought it would be nice for you to see me, but I'll continue on with my, I was born with a birth defect on my lower left leg. I had to have a bunch of surgeries by the time I was 4.5. Back then, I was in a major New York City hospital. I wasn't allowed. My mother wasn't allowed to stay over, and it was really scary having her walk away from me. And yes, the nurses treated me very nice. But could you imagine being a mother, seeing your daughter having to walk away from her, being in a major New York City hospital? This is where my PTSD started with doctors and stuff. It was scary. Then unfortunately in 2017, I was diagnosed with cancer. I lost 50 pounds within 3 weeks. It wasn't easy. Any medication they gave me to stop from vomiting and stop from getting sick did not work. I'm just asking for medical dispensaries. This medicine was wonderful. It changed my life. They have professionals at the dispensaries. You go to the dispensary and you say, this is what I'm going through. I'm going through chemo. I'm vomiting. I need to eat. I need to gain weight. And they know their stuff. They know their different strains, and they help me out so much. These are professionals. These are like pharmacists. Some of them are even pharmacists. You even actually have one doctor in Piscataway that prescribes medical cannabis. You have 64 psychiatrists that prescribe medical cannabis who have PTSD, who are suicidal. Some of those prescriptions that they are on actually make them choose suicide, which is really sad. Then people will say, well, you can take Uber and Lyft. Not if you're in a wheelchair, not if you're on disability. It's rough, it's hard, it costs extra money. We don't even have money. It's hard for us to even pay for our own medicine. Then you say, what about Access Link if you're in a wheelchair? Well, sometimes Access Link, it's hard to get an appointment with Access Link. You have to call 24 hours ahead of time. And who even knows that they're even going to bring you to that dispensary? Who even knows what time slots are open? It is a horrible thing not to go, not to go without medicine. If you have blood pressure medicine, you can get it. I'm sure there's a ton of CVS and Walgreens in Piscataway. There's almost 400 CVSs in the state of New Jersey. There's like 280 Walgreens in the state of New Jersey. We're just asking for one medical marijuana place just to help patients, not to make them suffer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council President, I'm asking the next individual with their hand raised to unmute themselves. Go ahead.
Good evening, Council. My name is Edward Lefty Grimes. I'm with sativacross.org. We're a 501c3 advocating for disabled rights and cannabis patients' rights. Was synthetic marijuana sold at the pharmacies under the name Marinol and Dronabinol, was that banned also?
Can you repeat the question again? Sorry,
Can you repeat the question?
Was it synthetic marijuana banned or just God's medicine?
The prohibition that the township is doing on the ordinance is for all types of cannabis for the businesses.
Okay, so your pharmacies should be should be aware that they shouldn't be selling synthetic marijuana to their cancer patients anymore. Those cancer patients are going to have to go get their synthetic cannabinoids somewhere else. As well as disabled war vets who you're actually disrupting the supply chain of medicine for disabled war vets. Something that's against the Geneva Convention. I mean, you're not even following the Geneva Convention, which is an international treaty that makes our captured troops at least receive medicine from a group like the Taliban. So in actuality, the Taliban actually treats our vets better than you guys. And that's sad, because at least they have to give them medicine.
I'll clarify one thing: is anything that may not be regulated as cannabis by the state, if it's synthetic. I don't know if the pharmacies are able to are considered synthetic marijuana is considered as part of the regulatory scheme of the new cannabis laws. Regardless, is that even if we're prohibiting these businesses, the state law allows and requires townships not to prohibit delivery of marijuana to any resident in the township. So any resident that does need marijuana in the township will be able to get delivery to their house.
Well, that's an extra cost that you're asking for disabled people. And if you've ever spent a day in a wheelchair, which I've asked a lot of councils to do that, spend a day in a wheelchair, and nobody will do it. Because if you're in a wheelchair, it's not easy. It's very hard. And you don't have money. You're on disability. You're getting taxed by the state 7%. You're getting taxed by the towns 2%. The medicine is not covered by insurance. The only medicine that's not covered by insurance. And the stigma of these towns banning God's medicine, it's shocking to me that they're banning God's medicine. The synthetic marijuana that's sold in the pharmacy is family friendly. We have no problem with people being stoned on Marinol and stoned on Dronabinol. But suddenly, when God puts cannabis in front of us, we lose our minds. This is God's medicine. He put it here for us for a reason. It helps many different conditions. I was on opiates for 10 years, and it got me off of those opiates because I'm in pain. I have an artificial disc, L4, L5, and a fusion L5S1, and a 2-level cervical fusion. I am in pain. I am in 7 and 8 level pain all day long. And I use cannabis to maintain. I don't even get stoned. I take a couple of dabs every couple of hours and to maintain my pain. Now, when I go to church, I could take a couple extra hits for Jesus. I admit that. I use spiritual cannabis also, as is my right. As a cannabis patient and as a recreational user now, apparently I have the right to use it spiritually, and I choose to use it spiritually. And I enjoy using it spiritually. I think more people should use cannabis spiritually and go to church and pray and meditate, or whatever you want to call it. I think more people should get in touch with God and God's medicine, not these chemicals that these pharmaceuticals in Jersey are trying to shove down our throat. We live in big pharma state, and I'm surprised we got as far as we did with our medical cannabis in New Jersey. Because we are just poisoned by big pharma. Poisoned. I live right next to Novartis up here, and it's just poison that they're giving us. Killing people every day with their... vets are taking these medicines. The medicines that they're taking, the SSRIs, the side effects are suicide. We got vets...
Excuse me, Mr. Grimes?
Yes.
Excuse me, Mr. Grimes. Your 3 minutes of time has expired, so if you could please wrap up your commenting.
They went with songs to the battle. They were young, straight of limb, true of eye, steady and aglow. They were staunch to the end against odds uncounted. They fell with their faces to the foe. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Edward.
Mr. Edward.
Just ask Raj this is Councilman Khan. Raj, a question.
Council President, there are no other individuals with their hands raised. Just wanted to let you know.
Okay.
Well, you can close the public portion if you want, Council President, first. I just wanted to ask Attorney a question.
Mr. Khan, can you hold on, please?
Yeah, please, go ahead.
Thank you.
What happened?
Okay, Mr. Khan, first. I want to close the public portion first. Okay. I'm closing the public portion. And now.
Yeah?
You talking to me?
Yeah, you're muted.
Yes.
Mr. Councilman Khan, yeah, go ahead with your question. This is Raj.
Hey, Raj. The last speaker, I think misstated it, but correct me if I'm wrong. This doesn't have anything to do with what pharmacies are allowed to do under the current law and have been allowed to do for a while. In other words, we're not prohibiting pharmacies from prescribing or distributing prescriptions. This deals with specific marijuana facilities, growing, dispensing, and so on. Am I correct? This doesn't involve what is currently allowed under both state and federal law that pharmacies do now. Am I correct in that?
Yes, completely correct.
So just to clarify the last speaker's statement that, and I think the one before, and I appreciate their passionate comments, as I'm sure everybody else does, but you can still go to a pharmacy and get whatever prescriptions you were getting under the law. This has got nothing to do with that. Am I correct, Raj?
Yeah, that's completely correct. Anything that was already being distributed through the pharmacies, I don't think is being affected by this new law.
Oh, you don't think? Now you don't think?
You know, that'll be separately regulated.
Oh, I think you're losing your confidence there. You don't think now. Now you don't think.
Thank you, Mr. Khan. Okay. Can I have an offer?
Better look into it. Better form a committee.
I'll offer. You want me to, Councilman Khan?
Mr. Khan, yes.
All right,
Second.
let's go back to Montvale. More public comment.
Thank you, Frank. Roll call, please.
The way people are.
Councilman Bullard?
We're going to go back to Montvale now. I think we're done in Piscataway. There's more public comment in Montvale coming up.
Councilwoman Cahill?
Yes.
Cahill, U.S. Marshal.
Councilman Khan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Lombardi?
Yes.
Councilman Rouse?
Oh, boo, 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 boo.
Councilman Irwin?
Yes.
Boo, 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 boo.
Council President Shaw?
Yes.
Boo, 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 boo.
Thank you. Item number 13, announcement and comment from official.
Okay, we're out of there.
Meeting is next week, and the work will begin in 2 weeks. So it should be completed by the end of the summer.
Sorry, my pet twitch.
Also, I just want to commend engineer Andy Hippolyte again on the work he performed down at La Trenta Field. We had a
Meeting.
We had I had a few parents come up to me. They just had the Montville Education Foundation softball game last weekend, and a few parents came up to me and said how great the field looks. The drainage issue is
corrected, obviously, because we had a good week of rain before that. So I was commending your engineer. La 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 la. Great job. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la.
This is gonna get worse. of course, my report will cover too, but I do have some notes. So I will start with, thank you. I'll start with the Board of Health. Board of Health meeting was this Monday.
What?
Board of Health meeting was Monday. We have currently 0 cases in Montvale. We had one for about a month or so that was being investigated. So that's good news. There's been no discussion on mandating vaccines for K through 12 students. They've researched about 474 cases since January. 7 cases in May. There's going to be a flu clinic. The plan for the flu clinic is Saturday, October 2nd. There's also going to be a press release for home vaccine for either homebound or people who need somebody to come to them for a vaccine. And also there's going to be, they want to do a video or promotional piece on the benefits of getting the vaccine. Let you know when that's going to happen. Let's see, for the upcoming recreation season, the counselors will need CPR. They're not current on their CPR qualifications. Also, the rabies vaccine for dogs and cats. They were shooting for a drive-through, but they decided that the drive-up doesn't really work that well because usually dogs are very of their cars, so they're going to try to do the walk-in and the DPW. They have to make sure that's cleared. And they're shooting for November 6th. I believe that's a Saturday. So it's something. The community center. Has anybody heard about this? The Legionnaire's disease. They're testing, I guess, the air conditioners or something for Legionnaire's disease. So I thought it was usually like air coolers and air handling, but they said one of the something was leaking. I don't know. So that's something to be aware of. I said I had more on my iPad. Oh, also I meant to say Happy Pride Month, everyone. I've been thinking about what I'm proud of. A lot. Everybody should be. I think that's a good thing. Pride is a very important measure of somebody's self-confidence. I think that's the one of the most important things about just going through life. So that's something I thought of earlier yesterday. Just to leave that alone. Moving on to my police report. Like I said, the police report was on my machine there, but that died. So I printed up the activities since the beginning of 2021, and it's on several sheets. One of them is, for instance, motor vehicle stop, 1,427 done since the beginning of January. And I was looking through this, and I think we spoke about this months ago. This is like all the minutia of, not minutia, but it's like every report that our police department has to do. I printed it up originally because I was thinking about this, the marijuana and the cannabis debate. And I've been hearing a lot of, not a lot, but several complaints around town, just kind of anecdotal. Neighbors were smoking marijuana and it's coming through my windows. I have children. And I was kind of looking through this and I was looking for any sort of neighborly or unneighborly disputes. And we really don't have that many. I was thinking like noise, lighting, anything that can kind of annoy your neighbors. And maybe I'm going down the wrong road here, but I just think you're going to follow me here a little bit. Just saying, whatever you do, it's your choice. But if it's affecting your neighbors, you might want to just be neighborly, right? Just be considerate. I think maybe when the school bus is coming down the road, maybe you should think about if you can tailor your time for smoking. Maybe that isn't the best time, but that's me. But again, just whatever it is, be neighborly and be nice to each other, and we'll all get along. So it's kind of a juxtaposed
Thank you. Thank you. That is all. Councilwoman Russo Wolfensank.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple of reports tonight. The first one is a message from Darren Peterson, our superintendent of schools. He says to tell everyone we are excited for the end of the school year activities, the fourth grade picnic, the fourth grade clap out, and the eighth grade graduation. We will be running a Montvale Summer Essential Learning Program, grades 1 through 8, and a kindergarten camp, incoming kindergarten students for 2021-22. All the information is on the website, and he wishes everyone best wishes for a wonderful summer to the mayor, the council, and the residents of the town. Next report is construction. For the month of May, building permits issued were 81, miscellaneous permits 74, totaling 155. There were 21 property maintenance violations. They're really cracking down on property maintenance, as I said at our last meeting. So anybody that hasn't taken care of the property maintenance, we really would like you to get on it because they are watching. The construction on the big sites continue to move along despite material and supply shortages, and they're very busy over there. That's pretty much all I have.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Chris Roche.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have too much to report tonight. Chamber of Commerce, October 17th is the street fair. They will be coming out with sponsorship applications soon for the local businesses who wish to grab tables. They're hoping to get everything done by the end of June, I believe, and end of June, middle of July. For Pascack Valley Regional Board of Ed, I'd like to thank Dr. Gunderson for his years of service to the school system. He'll be leaving at the end of the month. I apologize, I'm not sure if it's Dr. Mr. Fishbein from Daniel Fishbein, who was a former superintendent of Ridgewood Schools, has been named temporary superintendent of schools. For recreation, with the passing of the pickleball courts this evening, badges will be ordered, and hopefully we're hoping to have the ordinance enacted and everything, badges being issued before July 1st. After last meeting, our new park monitor has been hired. He started last week, so he's still learning the fields and everything else, and hopefully next couple of months he's going to be working on educating the public as far as what requirements there are for badges and everything, badges and permits and things like that. For summer camp, we do have some openings left in 7th grade girls. All of the other camps are pretty much full. There were some new guidelines coming out this week, but we haven't heard anything yet as if we're able to expand any of the grades. But for tonight, that's all I have to report.
Okay, thank you. And for the mayor's report, I'm just happy, excited, ecstatic to see people without masks, the faces, and the restaurants are full. The employees are coming back to their jobs. I had a call on Tuesday with about 15 companies in town, and they're slowly but surely coming back. The big ones like KPMG and Benjamin Moore, they're giving the employees the opportunity to work from home a few days a week. But come end of July toward August, I think we'll have the majority of them come back full time. We did lose about 55 businesses and smaller businesses throughout between last year and this year. We gained close to 58, maybe 59 businesses. So net on net, we are maybe 4 positive. And just this morning, I received the numbers from the governor's office. In Montville, specifically for us here, 63% of our population is fully vaccinated with the 2 or the 1 Johnson & Johnson, and 70% have at least 1 shot. So the assumption now is within the next couple of weeks, we will be at least 70% vaccinated. That's a really good number. That's where we want to be. And if you want the vaccine, as Councilman Collins said, Park Ridge Pharmacy is willing to come to your house and give you the vaccine. If you can't drive or find, but it's available locally. And if you are able to take it, then please take it. We would like to have closer to the 85-90% vaccinated. We mentioned the pickleball, so now they are on the badge system. We can't enforce it though until we actually have the badges and signage. So in a week or two, we will have that.
This month,
Okay.
Mayor, we'll be issuing badges.
Okay. We do have a few new businesses looking at coming to Montvale, looking at a couple major buildings to move into. So they're looking, they are doing their due diligence. The last 2 weeks or so, I have been working with our borough engineer, our fire chief, and Suez on the water tower. We have had issues with water pressure, especially on the northwest side of town, since the 90s. So I would like, if I can, ask Chief Jeff Gibbons, if you can just give us a minute or two on what you think we need in town as far as the water pressure and why we need to have this water tank changes. You can just come to the front, Chief, please.
Thanks for coming to me. It was last minute. Well, no, I keep doing this. Good evening, Mayor and Council. We had a meeting 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. There is an ongoing water issue in the town. The issue has been in the town since I joined the department. I've been on the department for this my 29th year.
Back when I first joined the department, Spring Valley Road was the dividing line. Everything west of Spring Valley Road, we used to do one certain type of hydrant connection. Everything east of Spring Valley Road, we did a different type of hydrant connection because the pressure was higher. There have been residents that have been complaining over the years about lack of water and pressure on the west side of town. Also, it used to be every 10 years, but now every 5 years, we're audited by ISO, which is an insurance, and they rate the fire department. And I've sat through 4 ISO inspections or audits. And what they do is they look at 3 things. They look at our communication system, they look at the fire department, and they look at our water supply. And one of the things that Montvale always kind of scores low on is the water supply. Just as an example, what they do is they go to Fieldstone School and they calculate the fire load and the fire flow if the building was fully involved in fire. Then they go to the closest hydrant, which is on Spring Valley Road, and they try to see if they can get that much water out of that hydrant. And Spring Valley Road hydrant is I think it's a 6-inch water main, and it's probably 50 years, 60 years old, at least. And they can't get that water flow. So I think any way that we can get, an increase in pressure or volume, especially on the west side of town, will definitely improve our firefighting capability. It will also improve our ISO rating. And the higher the rating, the lower the fire insurances for the residents.
Okay. So Suez wants to install 2 water tanks instead of 1. We have 1 now that needs to be changed anyways. But they want to take that, change that, and add a second one as a backup and as for the pressure. Now, Andy, you were working on this. The utility company really have the authorization to do this. I mean, they don't need us to say, do it. If they need water, when we turn the faucet on, we expect water to come out, and it's coming from those water tanks, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's correct.
So if there's not enough pressure for the fire hydrant, eventually we will have these issues ongoing. So either wait, do nothing, or do it now.
Right. The Board of Public Utilities is the agency who oversees the utility companies like Suez and PSAG. They're required to come for you to ask for permission, but they're governed under providing safe drinking and clean drinking water, and they're also governed under providing fire protection. If they were to come to you and deny them, they go to the Board of Public Utilities and just get approval. because they have to do it. They've shown us the evidence, they need these water tanks, and it'll get approved. It's better to cooperate with them, because then you can get things that'll help you and benefit you, whether it be screening your color or whatever it may be. So.
Okay, so I think what we should do for the council is, I want to set up a small town hall with a neighborhood where these tanks are going to go, and explain to the residents who will be affected with the visual, I guess, with these new tanks, on what to expect. We will have some rendering, some drawings, and explain to them exactly what will be coming, the timeline. And, Chief, if you can join us, just to state why this is needed. And this is not new. This is 30 years ago.
Yeah, and just one other thing I forgot to mention. Right now, we have one water tank. And when that tank drops approximately halfway, we have a very serious water supply problem in the town. Fortunately, it only happens maybe once every 2 years or so, but when there is a problem, when Suez can't fill that tank, we do have a major water issue. And what we normally do, they notify me, and what I do is I up our alarm assignment. So I bring in additional resources, more fire trucks from additional towns for the water supply in case we can't get it out of the hydrants. So with the two water towers, that's going to give you an increase in pressure, but it's also going to give you an increase in volume. And when they do have a problem with one of the tanks, that second tank is definitely going to help us.
Okay, so unless members of the council have any objection to this, I'm going to ask Andy to tell them that we will move forward, but we still need to meet with the residents who will be affected with this, and we'll work that into the timeline. Any issues from council?
Mr. Reck, most of the residents who get on the calls are calling with real concern about things that affect whereabouts they live. Okay, we don't go to businesses, and your snarkiness is not appreciated. So the comment about the park and the bottles, absolutely, because we appreciate when residents bring it to our attention when there are issues at local parks. And believe me, I've had people call me about people who dump trash at our local parks rather than.
That should have been probably a new business, but I just want to make sure that the chief has been busy all day, and this was last minute requests for him to come here. Covered that. I think that's all I have. Anyone else has anything else to add?
There, I do, actually.
Yes?
Can I speak real quick about the tax bills?
Sure.
The snarkiness. Does that seem fair to you?
Snarky.
Because I think that you like the town. I think you like living here.
Snarkiness.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I do believe you're married to Mr. Cradville's sister.
Whoa.
So you're very much in line with them.
Whoa.
So what I'd rather do is address
Getting personal
the
here.
real concerns of the people in our town.
Shots fired.
And you have some, and I appreciate them.
Ooh.
But I'd appreciate you also showing the concern that our other residents do when they call.
Ooh.
And not just trying to be attacking us. Is that fair?
I mean, I think that would be fair if the various government boards showed the same respect to me. But as last night's planning board meeting goes, the mayor just interrupts me mid-sentence to say I'm out of time, which I don't think is really his responsibility in planning board meetings. So his whole statement about respect and honor during Pride Month seems kind of vague and pointless.
Well, okay. Listen, again, I'm not discounting any of your concerns. You're a resident of this town, and we take them all seriously. But I would have to say, being someone who's been on planning board meetings and in town council meetings, I think it's sort of gone both ways, because the way in which you address us makes us you're belittling us.
Snarky.
Is what you're doing.
You're snarky.
And yeah, somebody gets
and we're not, the mayor's not doing that to people at the end of every council meeting? I'm sure he'll have a 10-minute rant about stuff right after this public comment.
We went there.
Okay, I don't want to get into it. All I want to do is you as a resident.
He's not going to
want hear
listen to you
and take care of it.
He's not going to listen to your constructive advice, Gabrielle.
You're not going to listen to my constructive advice.
We are.
Why would I listen to your constructive advice when everything I say you ignore?
we're not ignoring Brian, and actually we
Okay,
are listening.
Mr. Khan, Mr. Brace, we concern your questions and for park and cleaning.
Grow
we
up.
Take care for that.
Grow up.
And if you have any other questions?
No. No, we're done fighting.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Leader, anybody else?
What are we fighting about?
Yes, I'm asking the next individual to unmute themselves. The last four
We'll
digits
start
out.
construction relatively soon. Just so everybody understands, we have one court there now.
Yes, please state your name and address, please.
It's not me.
Last digit 3317. Please
Not
state
me.
your name and address.
Not me. I'm waiting to go back to Montvale. I'm done with Piscataway. This is Piscataway, but we're not really doing anything here. We're going to go back to Montvale to speak. There's nothing happening. Here's Montvale.
Until I get the DOT number, which would be in July.
Yeah, we normally
Madam
get like
President, I'm going to go back to that individual. I'll go to the next one for now.
Yes.
The next one is, the last four digits are 4525.
Hi,
Thank
can
you.
you hear me?
Yes, please state your name and address, please.
Hi, Nitish Varghese, 15 Hick Street. I'm actually calling in to discuss the Department of Public Works. In my opinion, there needs to be more transparency as it relates to the DPW.
Signals addressed.
Back to
the left
Montvale.
turn signal is now put in, and we have what we call a protected left turn. I know that there's a number of people sending complaints about the time of that left turn and how it cycles through its red, yellow, green. There have been adjustments made to it. I just need people to be a little patient, as when you just add a phase to a light, it adds seconds to one section and takes it away from another section. So it takes, usually on a signal that doesn't have a design for that in it, a couple of months to get through this. I would anticipate by August, September, the problems will be gone. There's people counting it all the time. The county's counting it. It's a county signal. Borough of Montvale has no jurisdiction over it. Do I know we get all the complaints? I will tell you every complaint we get on it, we send it to the county. And what the county has asked me to tell you is just have a little patience. They put it in, they're gonna fix it. The signal is much safer if there's more time. You just need a little patience. Number three, there's a crosswalk near our driveway on Mercedes Drive that was put in by the developer of 1 and 3 Mercedes. That was somewhat like a speed bump. There were signs there. When it was put in incorrectly. The developer has tried to address that. They've done a better job. We are going to monitor it, so just be a little patient with that. And the last thing is, Mayor, I will set up the time with Suez. So if you get me the meeting, I'll give Suez some flexibility on time and they can come in with renderings and whatever we need to. You just have to tell me how much information you want. They have it all.
Okay.
That's all I have.
The number one question I get is the Magnolia Bridge and the light on Woodland and Grant.
Okay, so the Magnolia Bridge, the county did go to bid. It's a county project to replace the bridge. They did go to bid for that project. I don't think they've received bid yet, but that time frame's coming soon. If everything goes well, they'll receive bids, award it in the fall. When we say award a bridge job, most people think like, let's get the construction right away. We're out there. It's way longer out there. There's all kinds of shop drawings. There's all kinds of structural elements to review. Utility companies have to come in and move utilities. You probably won't see any substantial construction until the springtime. Once the road is closed, that's when the light will go out. So that's probably in the spring.
And that project will take 18 months. So that road will be closed for 18 months. It's a
Full bridge replacement. Okay. Any questions for Mr. Hickman? La 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 la
Any change in the number of accidents at Mercedes Drive and Grand Avenue from the new light? I don't know. I know you got the complaints of the longer light, but I don't know if anybody's heard if it's improved the problem that we had.
So as far as I can tell right now, we've had no accidents since the protected left turn's gone in. We've got a lot of complaints of the time the left turn lane goes from green to red, and again, that's what the county's working on, but it solved the accident problem.
Good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Vitus? Thank you.
I have nothing at this time, Mr. Mayor.
I got nothing.
Any
questions from Mr. Vitus? I got nothing.
Nope.
Okay, unfinished business, none new business, the parking lot, we have to talk about the permits.
Yes, Mayor. At the request of Councilmember
Really?
Cooling, I would like to know whether or not the governing body would like to reinstate
the Railroad Avenue municipal parking lot fees again. For those municipal fees, we stopped taking them during the time of COVID. And what we did by ordinance was $60 per month for a lease spot there for businesses to help them in the area. And then for residents, it was $50 for a year. We stopped all that during COVID. I'd like to know whether or not the governing body would like to reinstate that so that way we can start charging for lease spots again, as well as resident
Do you like that?
parking.
I'll put it back.
In 2019,
When I did the calculation, the revenue was about 4,300. La 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 la. Everybody do a dab. 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 Let's all smoke some weed. Smoke some weed. Let's go smoke some weed, but not in Montvale. To help businesses have their employees.
You can't get no weed here. You can't get no weed here. You can't get no weed in Montvale.
You know, the dollar amount is nice to have.
La 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 la. You can't get no weed here. La 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 la. I'm in Montvale. La 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 la. You can get no weed. La 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 la. Suffer, suffer, and suffer. La 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 la. You can get no weed here. La 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 la. Just stay in your bed. Close your windows and shades and lock your doors. And just sit in your own shit and depression. Because we don't care about you in Montvale. Go put a gun in your mouth. If you're in Montvale, they don't care. They don't want to put a joint in your mouth. They're putting a gun in your mouth in Montvale. It's disgusting. How dare you treat the sick and the dying with disrespect?
Thank you, because it's a long day and
Even the Smurfs hate you. Even the Smurfs are laughing at you in Montvale. Disrespecting our vets, disrespecting our kids with cancer.
I did receive a letter from,
La 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 la. You don't fucking care. La 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 la.
on that side of town. So there is a letter on the record in support.
La 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 la. Montville doesn't care. La 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 la.
Members of the
Go
public
get
wish
your
to speak on any
weed
matter,
over
you
there.
may step up. You have 5 minutes, and if you need more time, we'll
5:55.
Now, we'll take the
My
in-persons
Puffco
first, and then
is
we'll go
set
to Zoom.
for
And for those on Zoom, if you
5:55.
give me a text message, I cannot
I
do
just
it.
like those numbers. It has no bearing on my feelings or my stonedness or the coughingness. 555 is the number because it's 555. We like 555. Oh my God! Hold on. Let's give her a low voice.
Residents say ordinance doesn't represent values. I vigorously disagree with the premise of this article and its selective and limited input. In fact, I'm livid. And as you know, in the 58 years my family and I have lived here and participated in many of its functions, I do not often speak up like this before you. I believe that one resident, often referenced in the article, Elizabeth Butler, and the 5 or 10 member Montville Diversity and Inclusivity Committee group she references are regrettably divisive and yes, even troublemakers. With this contribution to the article, they do not even seem to appreciate the extent to which the mayor and council of Montville have mentored proactively supporting diversity and inclusively committee of Montville, to which they have received a budget allocation funded by taxpayers and monthly events publicized. Montville's basketball courts were very welcoming to those living out of town until that Welcome Act was much abused. As one resident acknowledged in the article, the courts were crowded and residents couldn't get playing time. We had groups of 14 to 15-year-old kids who couldn't use the courts because they're not going to approach a group of 20-year-olds to get off the court. Worse still, Far younger children were not able to use the courts either.
No, I
And the foul
won't
language and
be
behavior
afraid.
of older players
No,
was not something that the wholesome, upstanding, and embracing values of Montville want for Montville's young children to be subjected to as they often were there.
Dab on me.
Basketball court policy
Oh,
change
darling,
occurred after
darling,
numerous
dab
complaints were
with
received by the
me.
mayor and council
Oh,
about the
dab
aforementioned
with
inability
me.
for Montville residents and children to play.
Dab.
It was often discussed
Dab
in
with
meetings
me.
and public input.
Dab with
Our
me.
reasonable
Oh,
policy was
darling,
established,
darling.
and it included
Oh, darling, darling, dab with me. Oh, dab with me. Because I'm smoking wax. I'm not smoking any trees. So, darling, darling, dab with me. Oh, dab with me. My long-term use is what I need.
Montville is inclusive.
Whoa!
And actually diverse. Why we even have, I put 45 countries represented in Illinois. Hallelujah. Residents need to join in our family friendly.
Oh, darling, darling, dab with me. Oh, dab with me. Oh, dab with me. Thank you. Thank you. You have no idea. Thank you very
Anyone
much.
else wishes to speak on any matter? You may step up.
Oh shit, I'm missing my thing here. All right, my hands up. All right, my hands up.
State your name, please. Good evening.
8 Belmay Lane, Montvale.
Good evening.
So I see that last month a new noise ordinance was accepted. So I'd like to let you know that you have 14 violations of the noise ordinance that was accepted last month.
Wow.
In tonight's meeting.
Whoa. What are you gonna do
I don't
about that?
understand what you just said. How is that a violation? What do you mean?
Well, there's a decibel reading level.
Yep.
And tonight's meeting has gone over.
It doesn't apply to the normal human voice.
It says indoor, and this is amplified via this microphone.
Oh, you're killing me. This guy's funny.
And I'd like to let you know, Lifetime Fitness can't run their audio systems for their exercise meetings. Restaurants can't run their audio systems for enjoyment. Whoever wrote this doesn't understand what decibel readings are.
Oh my God. Are you serious? They really screwed up?
I'm a certified audio engineer.
Oh wow.
You guys didn't consult anybody on this.
Wow.
I think it's ridiculous that you put something through like this. I'd like to know who the NCO are and who the NCI are.
Ooh, he's.
It's not.
Ooh.
The NJDEP said it was more than theirs.
The only thing that was different, that was more, was restricting the hours for certain activities. I think in the model ordinance, it was something like 10 o'clock, and moved to 8 o'clock. They're very, very minor change.
Wow, this
So
is.
again, who are the NCO and NCI?
Who's the what?
Who are the NCO and NCI?
What's NCO? What's NCI?
All certified. We're working on getting somebody certified to.
So you passed an ordinance and you don't have people appointed to positions in the ordinance.
We can utilize the Board of Health. Northwest Regional Health Commission.
Wow.
To the extent that we would bring that in.
So what else have they not researched? What else have they put?
Okay,
Oh
so
my God.
I'm gonna drive around the town.
Oh my God.
And who do I report all of these violations
This
to?
council is ignorant.
Because I'm not gonna waste police resources like my neighbor does every single week.
Wow, I love this
Calling
guy.
about my house.
I love this guy.
So who do we report it to?
Wow. Yes.
It's
Who?
the police.
The police.
So we're gonna waste
Who
police
calls police?
resources
That's a
on
job.
noise ordinance that's unrealistic.
Who would you want to come out?
Essentially, the baseball field that's right behind me has a PA system. Can't use it.
Nope. Shut it down.
Not in this policy.
Shut it down.
The street fair.
What about the children?
I mean,
The
the way this is
children.
written, if you read how it's written,
The children.
the exemptions are not there.
Don't forget the children.
I mean, this is what I do for a living. So
You're awesome, bro.
if I knew about it, I would have talked before it got approved. But now that it's been approved, who's enforcing it? Or did you just do it to be able to do it, so when somebody calls 911, you have a way to write a ticket?
We do have the health board that are going to acquire a machine to measure the
I mean, I
decibels.
have it on my phone right here. That's how I know how many violations you've had. I mean, I'm talking at 70 decibels.
We have to get a calibrated machine, and we have to get someone
Oh my
certified
God.
to use it.
What else have they not
So
done?
shouldn't have that happened prior to
Wow.
this being enforced?
We just actually approved a resolution for the pickleball, and we don't have the badges, so we have, because we need that.
We don't need those
first before
stinking
we buy the
badges.
So this is fine. We have the ordinance in place, and we're going to enforce it once we have the machine that we can enforce it with.
Okay, so school plays, like literally everything that's not exempted in your thing is gonna be shut down from now on.
Based on what's in the ordinance, that's what will be enforced.
A PA system at a school play will be over. A band orchestra will be over. I mean, that's what your ordinance states.
What section are you referring to?
Musical instruments.
What section are you referring to?
I can read the whole thing now, or I can write it up and come back to you, but
Send me an email, give me a call.
if you look at noise ordinance under musical instruments, is a nuisance. It doesn't say that in a school band it's allowed, it says it's a nuisance.
It's pertaining to the sound of musical instruments from one property to another, not within it on court.
That is not what it says.
Since you're in the business, Mr. Bryan, if you can just send an email with what you think should be done with this to either myself or to the counselor, just offline.
Sure.
Yeah,
All right, thank you.
thank you.
I'll try to be quick. Number one, I don't know whether or not you're aware that we're supposed to get $18,119.32 as a result of the state grants for reducing litter. Are you aware of that?
I am not.
And the county is, I mean, the county is going to get a grant of $150,000. I'll send it to you. I just cut it out. I love June. I love the month of June.
There's so many great celebrations, and I don't know whether or not we can use our bulletin board or not, but on Monday is Flag Day.
And that's another thing too, I wish our library did a little bit more about, is the actual reason why the flag was established in its history. I got this from
You can't get no
weed. I
weed.
couldn't.
La
But
la la
basically
la
it
la
was,
la. Not in my town,
organized
Mr.
as a result of a
Squeegee.
resolution adopted by the Marine Committee of the Second
You
Continental
are a
Congress
squeegee
of
man.
Philadelphia
You
on
are
June
smoking
14,
pot.
1777.
You
And it
are a
resolved that the
squeegee
flag
man.
of the
Get the
United
hell
States
out of
be
my
13
town.
stripes, alternate red and white, and that the Union be 13 stars, white in a blue field representing a new constellation. And New Jersey has some
You
credit
are
to it
dirty
because
hippies.
Francis Hopkins
Stay
New
out in
Jersey,
the
a
woods.
signer of the Declaration of Independence, was responsible for the stars in the flag. So let's honor that on Monday. The other Monday date, and I just gave to
The
Mrs.
garlic
Coling
sauce is really good.
one of
Try the
these
garlic
pins. It's the Army's birthday on Monday.
Best thing I've ever had in my
And we
life.
celebrate that as well too. And I hope that goes up on our bulletin board. And basically,
I
on
hope
June
so
14,
too.
1775, Congress
I
resolved
hope
the
so
6
too.
companies of
I
expert
hope so
riflemen
too.
be immediately raised in
I hope so
Pennsylvania,
too.
2 in Maryland, 2 in Virginia, and as soon as completed,
Two.
shall march and join the Army near Boston to be there employed as the light infantry
La
under the
la
command
la
of
la
the chief
la
officer
la.
in that army.
You're the
And
squeegee
basically,
dude.
this is what
La
their
la
oath was
la
at
la
that
la
time.
la.
I
You
have
can't get
this day
so weed.
voluntarily enlisted myself as a soldier in the
La
American
la la
Continental
la la
Army for
la.
1 year.
Get the
I'm a
hell out of my
service
town.
And I do bind
La
myself
la
to the
la la
board in
la
all
la.
instances to such rules
You're a
and
pothead.
regulations as are or shall be established for the government of
Get
said
out.
army. I'm going to continue
Get out of my
on
town.
about some. Did you know who
Get
this
your
handsome
ass
man
out
is?
of my town.
You know who he is?
And your smelly pot.
No.
We don't want your smelly
Men in uniform
pot.
always look better. They really do, huh?
And your crime and
He's very
squeegees too.
handsome, and he gave me, and actually, Mrs. Coling said you were going to provide me with a picture.
We
of
don't
your
want
uniform.
marijuana babies breeding on the
And the
street.
reason for that is I was down across it and he started.
We don't want people injecting marijuanas into the soles of their feet.
And I brought this before the Pescac Valley Regional High School District.
We don't want you
Board of
injecting
Education,
pot
asking
into your
volunteers, and
eyes
hopefully we can get
or
this done
sniffing
for everybody
marijuanas.
And
on the sides of the
basically, It
streets.
started out with a wonderful guidance counselor who I'm in contact with. She lives up in Chestnut Ridge, but she always shops in Wegmans, so we're going to meet there. And she started out by having a Facebook page.
We
getting
don't want
bios
you
of
in
all the,
Montvale
veterans
because you're a
who
dirty
lived
hippie. You wash your balls in the sink. Get away from me.
And then their bios and their pictures, and then eventually what came from that, it grew like Topsy. They took these wonderful pictures.
This
and they put
meeting
them on
is putting me
banners
to
and they fly
sleep.
all throughout the town.
These people are
And
very
it is
boring.
just wonderful. And Mr. Ken
Let's talk about
Sarakian
some weed and
informed me
dabs.
At the Pascack Valley
You
Regional High
people
School
will
Board of
have me
Education.
snoring.
On Zoom he was, and he's a nearby neighbor. He gave me lots of names of possible volunteers, so I'm going to be hopefully meeting with him. And the only funding that I see that comes from the town for anything like this is the DPW hanging the banners, because the banners are actually funded by donations, by the families. And what I was so impressed with, having, I knew a lot of these veterans and their pictures, is that these, and there are women of course too, but the young men that I knew in high school, they weren't girls, they weren't leaders. The military made them into incredibly responsible, mature, successful entrepreneurs. They went out to college to get their own. So I'm hoping that we can move on, and I will be in touch with you, Mayor, about this forum.
I'll be in touch with you. I'm gonna touch you. Do you wanna touch me, Mayor? Do you wanna touch me, Mayor? Mayor, 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 yeah. Oh yeah, you can't get weed in Montvale. You can't get no weed in Montvale. You can't get no weed in Montvale. Disabled vets suffer, epileptic kids. You will suffer in Montvale. We don't have compassion in Montvale.
Now the last thing, and it wasn't, let's put it on a bulletin.
The last thing? You said that 10 minutes ago. You said that 10 last things ago. That was your last thing. 10 last things ago. This is the last thing. That's the last thing. These are all the last things.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Is this the last thing? I think that was your 5 minutes, ma'am.
Anyone else from the public wishes to speak on any matter?
Jared Schumacher.
My hand's up.
Real quick, I'll talk about Flag Day. Riverdale at their Borough Hall.
You can sniff the marijuanas, sniff the marijuanas and inject the marijuanas into your feet. You inject the marijuanas into your feet and eyes.
Do you know when that is? I know they do that often.
Then go commit crime. You go out and squeegee everyone. Squeegee people who don't want to be squeegeed.
I know they have a
Squeegee the squeegeest.
Every once in a while.
Come here, I want to squeegee you.
The progress.
Hey.
Yes, they.
Hey, you.
Yeah, of course.
Come here. I want to squeegee you.
I'll check with
them. Come over here.
It might just be just.
Eh?
Okay.
Get over here.
Anywho,
I want to squeegee you.
Real quick, I missed the passage of the park monitor ordinance. Was there
a yearly
Oh yeah.
cost that was
Oh
associated
yeah.
with anticipated revenue
La
equivalents?
la 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 la. This meeting fucking sucks. La 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 la
For which, I'm sorry, I missed for which?
I wanna talk about weed.
Okay.
La 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 la. I'm a Zoom bonger. La 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 la. I'm bonging with my Zoom. La 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 la. I want to Zoom bong with you.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so it's March, there's
Oh my god.
revenue
Can we like
No.
Is it
move
gonna pay for it?
on?
Is it gonna be a cost?
Can we move on,
I want to
please?
pay for it.
Please.
I don't expect
Please.
revenue. I think we have 2 dozen badges issued to.
We don't need no stinking badges.
already.
We don't need no stinking badges.
The cost
I don't want no badges.
Okay, so the.
Why are you making me wear a badge? I don't want a badge. I don't want a mask, and I don't want a badge. Get away with me with your rules. Keep your badge off my body.
It also covers
My body, my choice.
And there was no badge and no payment of the soccer fields, but we were having the soccer fields were just.
That was a real burp. Here, let me try to do a low burp.
There's been an issue.
With usage of the soccer field for people. I don't know if I can do it that way. So it's park monitor, just there to monitor basketball courts, volleyball courts. But they will also coordinate the usage of the soccer fields.
Very guttural burps.
Capital for we've spent on those soccer fields.
Council, can I speak now?
And baseball.
Council.
Council, that's right.
Council.
I apologize. You're right. We're trying to as well.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
So the park monitor.
I've had enough of this meeting already. Come on.
Yeah. Come on, let's move along here.
Yeah.
Non-badge.
Let's all stroke each other's egos for 5 more minutes. Yeah.
I don't get bad for.
Whatever.
And tennis. Tennis, you need badges for pickleball.
Yes.
Oh.
You'll need a badge for when we get them at the end of the
I don't want no badges.
and Basketball.
You need to
But
book-
These also going to be located at La Trenta.
You need to book the soccer fields, okay?
Yes.
You don't need to book a basketball court, but that's why we don't have a badge system there. But
There are groups that.
La 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 la.
We're from out of town.
You must book the basketball court.
Just go up and hold,
La 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 la. Can we move on, please?
we were running into. I'm going to defer to Councilman Roach because he's got more.
We also had a lot of issues with people running clinics up there, private coaching lessons for small groups without obtaining a permit. There's
Problems.
no insurance
Problems.
involved. That's a requirement. when
These
you
are
get a
problems.
permit, so we're trying to bypass those laws there. So it's kind of just to make sure that everybody who's on the fields are supposed to be, they pay the proper permitting fees. Obviously, we're not trying to, chase off a parent that's up there playing with their couple of kids.
Well, you probably are.
Obviously, residents are able to use the fields, but any type of organized practices and games, obviously, need to have a permit.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to clarify the revenue expense side of it. Just one thing to clarify, because I think it got possibly muddled or I misunderstood it. The medical dispensaries in Montvale are not allowed. But if Sloan Kettering, for some reason, gives out a prescription of some sort, they can dispense marijuana. I feel there was a back and forth. Yes, deliveries are allowed, but dispensaries, medical dispensaries.
They're not prohibited by this ordinance.
They're not prohibited. Are they allowed in town?
I mean, any application for medical dispensary obviously goes through an entire state licensing procedure that would require for the town as well. So it's hard to say like in a vacuum that they're allowed. In theory, they could be allowed under certain circumstances.
And I do not have an issue with the medical. One of the important points about that ordinance was that it was not going to affect the use of medical marijuana.
Understood. Question about the Octagon building, because you threw a few possibilities out there. Was one of them storage for the fire department?
No, working offices for the fire prevention department.
The fire
Prevention, like
fire prevention doesn't currently have offices in the fire department.
No.
They're not part of the fire department. They're part of the town government, and they're a department that is actually a revenue producing component of the government, and they frankly don't have space, and it's
inspectors. That's
it's a
so it's a zoning
growth-
kind of inspection.
Yeah.
Okay, I misunderstood.
Yep.
And it was mentioned in the ordinance that it's a historic relevance. Is it part of the national or?
It is not.
Bergen
It is
County?
not.
Is
No.
there anticipation for applying for historic status?
We have to talk about that because there's some restriction. If we do that, there's restrictions on what we can and can't do with the building.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have the historic in the commission. They're involved with that too.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay. Anyone else wishes to speak on any matter? From in person? Okay, I'm gonna go to Zoom. The first one is and I forgot your name, I'm sorry, Lefty. About to talk. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. This is Edward Lefty Grimes. I'm with sativacross.org. We're a 501c3 advocating for disabled rights and cannabis patients' rights. In the ordinance, I'm looking to the exemption for medical dispensaries, and I do see something here. Okay, yeah, it does say there is an exemption for medical dispensing with a license under New Jersey, so that's fair. I went to go see Senator Brian Stack this week about this issue and a couple of other issues because Brian Stack, as a senator, voted for legalizing cannabis, but as a mayor, He voted only for medical cannabis in Union City. But I think that's fair. I think that's a great compromise because you're taking care of the sick and the dying first, the people that really need it. And I really appreciate that Brian Stack did that. He's also helping the disabled in other ways. He the question I have actually for this council is, do you plan on going to in-person meetings and doing away with this format, this online format, totally?
Yeah, I would like to do it in person all the time, but we do have people who requested that they have access to online meetings. So we're doing one of the 2 meetings per month to be on Zoom and in person. So these are in person right now and on Zoom. So just to give an option to the residents so they can attend. We want more people to be involved.
Yes, thank you. It's very important that you do that because for 14 months, you gave things to able-bodied people that disabled people have been asking for years. Online schooling, online work, online churches, online council meetings. These are things that we've been asking for years, and you finally gave them to us. The government finally gave them to us. And for 14 months, we had those things, and now a lot of towns are taking those things away. And disabled people are not able to take part anymore. My friend Jeff, who had cancer, he passed away, but before he passed away, he was going to these council meetings from his deathbed, literally from his deathbed, and he wouldn't be able to attend a lot of these council meetings right now. So it's very important that you continue to allow the disabled to attend these meetings, because for 14 months, a lot of these towns did these things, and now that all of a sudden they can't do it. And I'm like, well, why can't you do it? You can do it. You're choosing not to do it. And I believe that if you give a 24 hours notice, if I have a hearing disability or a visual disability, you guys can accommodate me for that. Well, I think the same should be for a physical disability. If a township, a resident can't make your meeting because of physical disability, they should be able to call ahead and get a Zoom link like this and get disabled access. I think that's very important. And I'm asking Senator Stack to craft a bill because a lot of towns are not doing what you're doing. And they need to have compassion forced on them, unfortunately. And my friend Jeff advocated for compassion. And once we advocate for compassion, and once we have compassion, all these other things will fall into place. The wheelchair access, the medical cannabis, the things that disabled people need. If we have compassion, they will get what they need. So, and again, thank you for listening. I appreciate it.
Welcome. Next is John Rotante. Good evening, John.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I just have actually one issue and a question, an issue on the pickleball courts and a question regarding the bocce courts. I don't know if you've noticed lately, but the pickleball courts have been
really crowded.
La 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 la, let's play pickleball. La 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 la. Show me your pickle.
Members that play pickleball.
La 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 la. I don't know what pickleball is. La 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 la. I just want to smoke some weed. La 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 la. Let me squeegee your window with my pickle. Let's play pickleball.
For their members that play. I
What
heard
is
that
pickleball?
they're gonna be, issuing badges. I don't know if that's going to resolve.
We don't need no
the problem
stinking
or not,
badges.
But it doesn't leave much room for.
We don't need no stinking badges. We don't need no badge. We don't need no stinking badges.
Monopolize the courts at all times. I don't know if you have gone to their app. Their app is called Tim.
All right, I think we're done here. I can't take any more of this. I just can't. I just can't. I can't take any more of you. Can't take any more of you.
From 8:30 in the morning.
All right, we're doing this now.
They used
We're
to
gonna
do
find me a song.
Now I see them
We're gonna
in
end
the
this on a high note,
and
and I want y'all to smoke some weed right now. We're gonna smoke some weed together, me and you and me, together. Us, you and me.
John, sorry to interrupt. You may have missed it. We did pass a resolution.
We're getting rid of this guy.
applying the
Goodbye.
badge system to the
Goodbye.
pickleball.
Goodbye. 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 Bum, 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 bum. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. I'm gonna sing a song for you right about now. This is about all the towns that ban cannabis, including Montvale and Piscataway and Margate, Berkeley, Bridgeton, Bridgewater, Brigantine, Carlstadt, Chatham, Clifton, Cranberry, East Rutherford, Elmwood Park. Oh yeah, all these towns have banned your weed. Well, you can't get no weed here, you can't get no weed here, you can't get no weed here, you can't get no weed here. Keep your cancer home, dear, you can't get no weed. Barnegat, Berkeley, Bridgeton, Bridgewater, Brigantine, Carlstadt, Chatham, Clifton, Cranberry, East Rutherford, Elmwood Park, Emerson, Fairhaven, Freehold, Garfield, Hasbrook Heights, Hawthorne, Lavalette, Lodi, Jamesburg, Hazlitt, Mawa. You can't get no weed here. 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 Keep your cancer home, dear. You can't get no weed. Manville, Bennington, Point Pleasant Beach, Elton, Caldwell, Oakland, Oceanport, Ridgewood, Greenwood, Seaside High, Seagirt, Shrewsbury, Seacock, Surf City, Spotswood, Upper Freehold, Upper River Wall, and why you can't get no weed here? You can't get no weed here. You can't get no weed here. You can't get no weed here. Keep your cancer home, dear. You can't get no weed. And we hooking West Caldwell, West Long Branch, Westwood, Wyckoff, Woodcliff, Lake, Palisades Park, Palisades Park. There's no wheelchair access anywhere in New Jersey. You can't get no weed here. 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 Keep your wheelchairs home, dear. You can't get no weed. Chester, Franklin Lakes, Harding, Midland Park, Ramsey, Oldfield, Old Japan, Ramsey, Danville, Avalon, Parsippany, Pleasantville, Saddlebrook, Brick, and Union City. You can't get no weed here. 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 Keep your cancer home. Dear, you can't get no weed. You can't get no weed. Yeah. That's fun.
Okay, what's your funny story, Seth? Seth, tell me your funny story. I have a funny story for you, says Seth. Well, you can't get no weed here. Want to do another one? I have to find it. Hold on. Hold on, I need the words. I'll sing it like this, too. This is funny. No, I'll sing it like this.
I'll sing it like a Smurf. I'm gonna sing it like like Papa Smurf. Hello, Papa Smurf. Alright, here it is. You ready? Oh, shoot. I didn't mean to do that. I just screwed all of that. I just screwed up. I know. No, not that one. Not that one. No. This one. This one. Yeah. Alright, come on. Well, it's 40 below and I don't give a fuck. Got a doobie in my truck and I'm off to the ATC. It's past to the left, take from the right. Come on, you motherfucker, don't cancel the right. Get out of the circle, you fuck the rotation again. You piss me off, you fucking jerk. You get on my nerves. Well, here comes Johnny with a bong in his hand. He's a one-bad man and he's off to the ATC. It's pass to the left, take from the right. Come on, you fucking dummy, don't pass to the right. Get out of the circle, you nut the rotation again. You piss me off, you fucking jerk. Get on my nerves.
Bong, 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 bong. Bong, 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 bong.
Bong, 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 bong. Well, it's hot as hell. I don't give a shit. Got my doobie all lit, and I'm off to the ATC. It's pass to the left, take from the right. Come on, you fucking dummy, don't pass to the right. Get out of the circle, you rip the joint in half. You piss me off, you fucking jerk. Get on my nerves. Well, here comes Billy with a blunt in his mouth. He's down from the south, he's down for the ATC. It's pass to the left, take from the right. Come on, you fucking dummy, don't pass to the right. Get out of the circle, you fuck the rotation again. You pissed me off, you fucking jerk. Get on my nerves. Wah wah, wah wah, wah wah. I've been shooting these veins so long, singing the same old song. I know every crackhead in these dirty sidewalks of Bricktown, where hustle's the name of the game, and nice guys get washed away like the snow and the rain. There's been loads of itches and hives. We're risking all of your lives, but I wanna be where the methadone's getting in me, like a methadone cowboy, trading in my horse for a fancy little bottle of dope, like a methadone cowboy, getting crabs and diseases from people I don't even know, and my dealer's calling me on the phone. Well, I really don't know how to abstain, and a smile can hide all my pain. When you're down, you're chasing that dragon and you're taking the long way. And I dream of the drugs I do, with a bundle and a needle in my shoe. There's been loads of itches and hives, and we're risking all of your lives. But I wanna be where Smurfette will be there with me, like a methadone cowboy, trading in my horse for a fancy little bottle of dope, like a methadone cowboy, getting crabs and diseases from people I don't even know. My dealer's calling me on the phone. Yeah. Wayne was in the van when he was stopped by the man. He was busted. Carol from Lodi was just getting high. She was busted. Ed from down south, he was running his mouth. The police came inside, they ransacked his house. All this because of a rat on the couch. He was busted. Anthony and Summit had tinted glass. He was busted. Lefty and Linden was being an ass. He was busted. David and Keyport, They took all his stash. They took all his bongs. They took all his cash. Mike on the bike had his head beat and bashed. He was busted. Chris from Absecon, cops took her wheelchair. She was busted. She had a shit in a bucket. Clothes the cops didn't care. She was busted. Jessie was growing some weed in her home. They spent time and money wiretapping her phone. They took away Jeremy. Now Joanne's alone. They were busted.